Welcome back to the Anglotopia podcast, the special podcast edition because I am actually in England. I recorded a podcast a few days ago talking about my initial travel experiences, so I thought I'd record another one a few days later. I'm getting a lot of questions on our social media pages about the program I'm doing and how others can do it and what it's like and what you do every day, and so I'm going to try and answer the questions all in one fell swoop. And if you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment or shoot us an email and I'll try my best to answer them. So I first did a course at Oxford 5 years ago. It was in partnership with the English Speaking Union, and it was a course on the history of the English language, and they brought me over to sort of cover it and review it and help promote their tours. And it took place at Worcester College, which is on the other side of Oxford, and it was a great experience. I loved it. I loved being a temporary Oxford student for a week, and I got to live in a college room and everything. And ever since that experience 5 years ago, I've wanted to do it again. And as far as I know, the English Speaking Union is still running these programs, but I don't know what the status of them is post-pandemic. Their programs sort of focus on educators, and some of them were a little longer. Some of them required actual coursework to be done because you could use it for credit. But I highly recommend looking them up. I will put a link in the show notes to the English Speaking Union, but this time is not through the English Speaking Union. This is through the actual University of Oxford directly, and it's through their Office of Continuing Education, and they sort of run courses for those who just want to learn things and who are willing to pay for it. So they've got several different options there. The first one is they offer virtual courses. So you can pay a fee, sign up, and do an online course and work with an Oxford tutor and learn Oxford materials. And you can do it all virtually from the comfort of your own home. Now, granted, I could see why that would not appeal to a lot of people, especially after having done e-learning with my own children and having sat through countless Zoom meetings for work that might not appeal to a lot of people. So that's just one option. The other option they have is throughout the year they will do in-person courses, usually in the nights or the weekends, and you can get the benefit of learning the material directly from an Oxford tutor in Oxford on a set schedule. Sometimes the courses will take several weeks. Sometimes they'll take a week. It just depends on the course. And some of them will have varying levels of work. Some will have no work. Some will have, you have to actually write a paper. You have to actually do coursework, do reading, and stuff like that. And so, those are, you can find out all about these on the Oxford Continuing Education website, which I will put a link in our show notes to it because this is really the core of where all this is. So, and then there's sort of a third type of course where it's residential, where you come and you live in an Oxford college and you learn from the Oxford tutors, and you get to live in the college as if you're a student. You get to eat in the dining hall. You get to have the full thing, which they call the Oxford experience. And that's really what it is. You get to experience Oxford as a temporary student, as if you were an undergraduate or a graduate student. Now, again, there's different levels of program here. There's different options. You can take a course that requires significant coursework. You can take a course that will award you actual college credit that you could apply to something. You can do a course that's just for your own entertainment and desire to gain knowledge and not have to do any coursework and just attend the lectures and be a part of the experience. And so that's the option I chose. So for the Oxford experience in residence, they usually hold these in July and early August. And the reason they do it then is because, one, Americans really like to come to Britain in the summer, when they can usually go on vacation. And two, Oxford goes on break. The actual university goes on a break for 6 weeks between terms. I think it's 6 weeks. And so the college doesn't have anything to do for the month of July and half of August. So they open their doors up basically to all comers to come do these courses, and they keep their college staffs busy. They keep the porters and the scouts busy. They keep the kitchens busy, and you get paying customers coming in using the facilities, and it keeps things ticking along. And so, yeah, so that's basically what this is. Now, I highly recommend signing up on the Oxford Office of Continuing Education website to their email list, because when you sign up for the email list, you'll be notified throughout the year when information on the courses is released. And when they release the courses for registration, usually in January or February, you need to book your desired course as soon as possible, because some courses are more popular than others and they fill up quickly, and you don't want to miss your chance. Now, when you do book your course, there's a different cost level. Like, I can't give you one price for everything. It's going to all depend on the specific course and what you're learning and what type of accommodation you want. So you can just pay for the course and just attend the course and get your meals in Oxford College, and that's it. You don't have to pay for lodging, because there are several people on these courses who are staying elsewhere in Oxford and just coming to the college for the course. So you can do that if you wanted to, if you wanted more flexibility. And then you can choose varying levels of accommodation. Now, I chose to have my own room and my own bathroom, which you have to pay a little extra for. So I wanted some more privacy. There are other rooms where you can have your own room but share a communal bathroom. There are options to share with another person and everything. And then you can choose to opt out of the meals or opt into the meals. And I opted for the full package. So when I picked my course, I picked private room, private bathroom, and all my meals provided during the week I'm there, which means breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the college. And I'll talk more about how great that is later on. So when I chose the course, there were probably a dozen courses that interested me. Now, the way they structure the courses is, so every week for the 6 weeks they do this, they do like 10 separate courses, and each one is in a different topic area. And so the way it keeps the group small and manageable, and everybody can kind of intermingle with each other and get to know each other. And so, like, you'll talk to people who are in other courses, and it creates interesting conversation at meal times. So, like, right now, for this week there are 10 other courses going on. Mine's Nelson. There was one on archaeology. There was one on criminology. There was one on the philosophy of free will. There was one on the history of medical science, and a bunch of others that I can't quite remember. So it's quite a variety of courses. And so, I said back in February, and I was choosing the courses, there were a couple that I wanted to do, but the ones I really wanted to do were full. Like, I originally wanted to do the Churchill one that had filled up. I wanted to do the Turner one, like a history of British landscape painting, and I believe that one was full. And so the one that still had a couple places in it was the Nelson course. And as I'm a huge fan of all things Nelson, I thought, okay, that ticks my boxes. I will be perfectly happy to sit and learn about Nelson for a week. So that's the one I picked. So like I said, I picked that course with the full room and board and a private bathroom, and the total price for my package was £1,700, I believe, which comes out to, like, I think back then the exchange rate, it was like $2,200. Now, that does seem like a lot, but it includes your lodging and your meals and basically your entertainment for a whole week. So when you think of it as like a package tour, that's actually a great deal. And also, and I'll talk a little more about this in a little bit, the classes are only in the mornings. So you have the rest of the afternoon to either do what you want, or they put on a series of excursions and tours and lectures and stuff that you can opt into. So to give you some examples here, pull up my schedule and the booklet they gave us. So I'm in week 4. So everything is structured in the week, and so that like it's kind of a set schedule. So like everybody arrives on Sunday, and that's when check-in is. There's a buffet lunch provided. Then there's an orientation meeting in the evening, and there's sort of there was a reception on the quad called Tom Quad here at Christ Church, and there was drinks, and you meet your tutors and meet other classmates and whatnot. And I should add that these courses that were all at Christ Church College. Some other colleges will do things like this. Some other colleges will host these courses. Just this year, these were all at Christ Church. So back to Sunday, and then there was the first formal dinner in the hall, and then after dinner you had like an informal meeting with the tutor, where the tutor, you all met up, you met your classmates, and then you went to where your lectures are going to take place, so everyone knew where it was, and then you were free for the evening. So yeah, and so to give you an example, that Monday, the first day, you have breakfast from 7:35 to 8:45, and you eat that in the hall, which here at Christ Church is the famous dining hall that was used for Harry Potter and is the inspiration for the Harry Potter films, and they ended up building a replica of it in the studio, which you see on the studio tour. But I believe that for the first movie, they actually filmed it here, and there's all kinds of Harry Potter staircases and stuff. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, this is the place to come. And then your class starts at 9:15, and then you meet for an hour and a half, and it goes by pretty quickly. And then you have tea and coffee break because, of course, this is Britain. You have to have a tea break. And then classes resume at 11:15. And then you meet for another hour and a half, and then it's lunchtime. You have lunch in the Great Hall. And then from like 2 p.m. onward is usually when the optional excursions or tours are. So like for this Monday, they offered a tour of Christ Church College, which was free and included in the package. I did that. That was great. And then that evening after dinner, there was croquet and wine in the Master's Garden, weather permitting, which actually I think it started raining, so I'm not completely sure they even had it. I didn't go down. I was too tired. And then for the next day, the afternoon tours were you could either take a walking tour of Oxford, or you could do a Morse, Lewis, and Endeavour walking tour. I didn't do either of those because I've actually done both of those in previous trips to Oxford, but I highly recommend doing them whether you're in the course or you come to Oxford. They're great. And then there was a special classical music concert at 4:30 on Tuesday that was in the, quote, new library at Christ Church, which is actually 400 years old, which it's an incredible space. It's the combination of old wood, old books, the smell is wonderful. It's great to listen to chamber music in there. It was a lot of fun. And then there was dinner, and then after dinner there was another lecture you could do, or there was a guided pub walk around Oxford, which sounded like a lot of fun. Now, that night, our tutor actually put on a movie, and we watched That Hamilton Woman, since it was, very related to our coursework. So that was a lot of fun. We had an informal meeting where we in the classroom, and we watched The Hamilton Woman. So fast forward to yesterday. Again, the schedule followed the same, and then there was an optional excursion to Rusham House and Garden, which that was a mixture of people from other courses. That was a ton of fun. I loved Rusham House and Garden. I cannot recommend it more highly. I'll write more about it later on and share more pictures. And then today, the big thing that the courses do is usually on the Thursday is the field trip day, the quote field trip day. So for the Nelson course, today we went to Portsmouth Historic Dockyard down in Hampshire, and we saw HMS Victory, we saw the Mary Rose, we saw HMS Warrior, and toured everything. It was a grand day out, and we were gone all day because it's a 2-hour drive, and there's a lot to see. So that was a ton of fun. Now the other courses they do excursions as well. The criminology course, I believe they went to the former Oxford prison/jail. The archaeology course, they went into an actual archaeological dig nearby, which is sounds a lot of fun. And so that's kind of an overview of the program. Now, I guess I should start talking about the social aspect. You can get out of the program really whatever you put into it, but it's an opportunity to socialize with other kind of like-minded people. Like I said, all the courses eat meals together at mealtime, and so usually you meet people when you're reading. You'll also encounter people when you're doing these extra excursions that everyone can opt into, because not everyone does every single one, and you have a chance to meet people from all over the world. I will say that a majority of the people I've encountered are actually other Americans. Most of those Americans are of retirement age or above. I'm one of the youngest people here. There are plenty of young people. I'm 38 years old. I consider myself young still, but there are plenty of young people to socialize with, and you meet a wide gamut of interesting people. A lot of people with a lot of different life experiences, and they all bring something different to the course. So that aspect of it is interesting. You also meet people from Europe. One of the guys in our Nelson course is from Australia. I've met people from Germany. I met people from Spain, Italy. So it attracts people from all over the world to do this experience. And then I suppose I should talk about the mealtime, which is a really interesting part of this that you don't really think about when you're booking this. So if you opt for the package, it includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're going into the Great Hall 3 times a day and eating 3 times a day. You don't really get much choice in what you're fed. There are many options, especially in the buffet style. There's usually a meat option, a vegetarian option, and then they will attempt to cater to any special dietary requirements, but you have to let them know so that they can plan in advance. But for the most part, though, the meals are set. You can't order what you want. It's really what you just either eat what is being served, or you do something else. Breakfast is usually, I would describe it as continental full English. You can get a fried egg, a poached egg, British style bacon, sausages. There's vegetarian options, hash brown, oatmeal. You get toast. They have croissants. You can get tea, cereal, coffee, fruit, and that you can sort of help yourself to. But there's people serving you, and you get it on a tray, and you go sit down at the table, and you eat, and you leave your tray, and it's picked up for you. Lunch is a little different. It's like a buffet style. There's usually a hot option and a cold option. So there's a main, for example, on Monday it was chicken. It was a chicken in a some kind of sauce. It was fine. Or you can have cold cuts and have a cheese board or a sandwich, whatever kind of takes your fancy. And then so breakfast and lunch are very informal, and you can wear what you want to them, and it's not as rigid. Now dinner, however, is a formal occasion, and there's also varying levels of formal. So you're not allowed to wear jeans or shorts if you're a male to dinner. You have to wear appropriate slacks. They say business casual in the manual. So you have to dress smart for dinner. Ladies do as well. And that's the bare minimum for everybody who's dining normally. There's no assigned seating at regular dinner, but you come in and then you have to wait to sit down and start eating until the high table sits and starts eating. So, and that's the next thing I'll talk about is the high table. So the high table is at the discretion of the head of the university, and he invites people from different classes every day to come dine at high table, and they get to eat first, and they get the view of the hall, and they get to chat amongst each other and everything. And that is a much more formal occasion, and you're expected to wear a jacket and tie, basically. Thankfully, I brought a suit with me because I read the manual and it warned me to do that. And it's a much more rigid, you come in 15 minutes before everybody else and have 15 minutes of sherry. which was a very key part of the high table dinner. I don't partake in drinking, so I didn't. I just had a non-alcoholic. I think it was sunflower juice. It was interesting. And then you have formal dinner at the high table, and you sort of set the speed of the rest of the place eating. No one's allowed to sit until the head of the college has said grace, which is said in Latin. It's most impressive. And then you can sit and everyone can start eating. And then, like, you're not supposed to get up until the head of the table is done eating. It's very much like if you're dining with the queen. Like, you kind of follow what the head of the table is doing, and it's very formal. Um, and you get like I said, you get a special invitation to that, and so like you have to go that evening when you're invited. Not everybody and I don't think everybody gets invited. I don't know. I think everyone gets an invite. Some people opt out of it, and that's fine, especially the people who aren't partaking in the meals. Again, you can really do what you're comfortable with. If you don't want to do the formalities of dinner and high table, then you don't have to. It's optional. When you're doing the full program, you're sort of expected to do everything in the college. And if you're not going to, they kind of want you to say that you're not going to. But I think in practice, no one really does that. I've eaten a couple meals outside the college. Like I had friends come visit that I hadn't seen in a few years, and I ate lunch out at the college, and no one seemed to really care. You can also invite people from outside the college to come visit. You just have to pay for their meal, and then they can come join the meal in the dining hall or at high table. And they also have to dress appropriately. So that's interesting aspect of it. I'm a kind of a picky, finicky eater, so I haven't loved every meal, but I've done my best to sort of push myself out of my comfort zone and try new things. I haven't gone hungry at all the entire time I'm here. And normally when I stay in something that's self-catering or a hotel, like I'll go to the local convenience store and get some snacks, and I haven't snacked at all. I haven't bought any food. So I've been kept well fed. I love the breakfasts. Breakfasts are hearty and filling and good. And one of the fun things about Christchurch specifically is they have their own tea blend called the Christchurch blend, and it's really, really good. I'm actually going to try and buy some so I can bring it home because they have a shop where you can buy it. And then they also make their own marmalade, and their marmalade is really, really good as well. So those are some fun little tidbits there. So trying to think what else related to the course. Now, from talking to people, like when you do this once, a lot of people get addicted to doing this. And a majority of the people I've talked to, like this is not the first time they've done this. Granted, the pandemic made everyone take a break, but a lot of people have done this many, many times. Some people will come for the whole 6 weeks of the courses during the Oxford Experience break, and they will do a course a week. That sounds exhausting. And you also don't have to stay on the college for all of that either. But many people will do more than one course when they come to get the most out of their Oxford experience. And like I said, many people have come back to multiple years, and some people have been doing it for 20 years. Like, it's a lot of people have different reasons for doing it. Some people do it because, they want the intellectual enrichment. Some people do it because it gives a structure to a holiday, and also, like, you're very looked after. And as a lot of the people who are doing these courses are retirement age, there's kind of a staff of people kind of looking after everybody. I'll give you one example. One of the days here, there was an ambulance in the quad, and we all kind of wondered what was going on. And it turns out a classmate who was very elderly had fallen down the stairs. So the college called the ambulance. The ambulance took him to the local NHS hospital and patched him up and gave him stitches, and he was fine, and he was no worse for wear. So they sent him back to the college, and the college kind of kept an eye on him to make sure he was okay, and he was back in class the next day. So that's kind of a nice example of how you're kind of looked after. So which I think that's kind of, it appeals to the retiree crowd, because you're not staying in a hotel, you're not being ignored. Like, you're going to be missed if you don't show up to breakfast or lunch or dinner, and you're kind of expected to be where you're supposed to be when you're on these courses. So your absence will be noted, but not in a negative way. Like nothing's required. Some of these courses, I don't think any in the Oxford experience require any coursework. But again, it depends on the course you pick. You'll have to look when on the Oxford Continuing Education website and look at the various courses, and it will tell you what work is required. My course, the Nelson course, does not require any work. I do not have to write a paper. There was suggested reading. It wasn't required, but you suggested you read it. And I'm glad I did do the reading because it really helped fill in a lot of the blanks for the course. But yeah, you're not expected to do a lot of work. You're just expected to sort of enjoy the intellectual enrichment, enjoy the experiences, and then go on your way. I would say, having done something like this twice now, I love it. I definitely want to try and make it a regular thing and do it again. I don't think I could do it every year because it is quite expensive because it's not just the cost of the course, but you've also got to get over here. But it's been worth every penny that I paid for it so far. I've been a very satisfied customer, which is a weird way to think about it. I've really enjoyed being in this college. Christchurch is beautiful. It has the biggest quad in Oxford. And granted, it's not green and beautiful right now because of the heat wave they had kind of turned it brown. It's still quite an impressive place. Architecturally, it's amazing. I mean, I'm looking out my window now. It's dark, but everything's all lit up. I can see Christchurch Cathedral and the other buildings, and you can't beat the setting. And it's so utterly peaceful inside the college. Know that many of the colleges, they'll also do a B&B when term time is over. So you could come stay in the college in the rooms on your own as a B&B style and not do any courses. So you could get the experience of staying in the college just by paying by the night, and you could still eat in the hall and everything. And I would consider that too because I mean Oxford's got really nice hotels, but I think staying in the cottage and on one of the colleges is a true experience because you've really got to feel the cloistered feeling and quietness and stillness of these colleges. You can see why they're such wonderful places to learn. Makes me really wish that I had gone to Oxford in my youth, but time goes on, and now I can come back and do things like this and be a student temporarily. Again, there's lots to see and do in the college itself. The tour was really illuminating because they gave you a kind of historical background. There's plenty of places to walk around, corridors and cloisters and buildings, and there's the new library, which is 400 years old, but still incredible, beautiful, beautiful space. Christchurch actually has its own art gallery that has a great collection of old masters. That's definitely worth seeing. It charges the public a fee to go in, but as a part of the course, you don't have to pay admission. There's beautiful grounds and gardens, and then there's the Christchurch Meadow outside the walls. Oh, this is kind of fun. The college closes its doors at 9 p.m. and you're locked inside. Back in the olden days, that's how they managed student behavior. Like if you weren't in by 9 p.m., you were locked out. You were out of luck. And you couldn't sneak out either, or students would always find ways. Anyone who's read Brideshead Revisited knows that students would find a way. Nowadays, I mean, you're not forced to stay in here. They give you a key fob, and these beautiful old 400-year-old doors have a little electronic lock on them, and you just key fob in and out. So, like, I've come in past 9 p.m. and it's not a problem. But it's quite fun to try and push open these massive doors, and then there's just a little door in the door. That's kind of neat. Again, there's a whole sort of inner society here within the college too. There's the porters, and they man all the gates, and their primary job, as explained to us by our tutor, is to keep the hordes of people out of the college. They don't want a lot of people in the college. Now, they are happy to have people do the official tours of the college, but they limit it to certain hours, and you have to pay, and They don't want people just wandering around because this is a place of learning, and it needs to be relatively quiet. So then, and the porters, they will help you with your bags. They will help you arrange taxis. Like, they're kind of like the concierge of the college. And when the students are in residence, like, they sort of help the students manage their lives. And then there's the scouts. The scouts work in conjunction with the porters, and the scouts, they basically keep the rooms clean and keep you clean and organized, and they're very kind, and they keep things working. And then there's the kitchen staff. They make all the food. Christchurch is a cathedral, so every night there's evensong. So there's a whole staff of priests and laypersons who manage that. Highly recommend doing the evensong. It sounds beautiful. Christchurch Cathedral is a most impressive building. My favorite thing so far is that at 9:05 p.m. every night, promptly, the bell and the quad and the bell tower, it's called Old Tom, it rings 101 times. It's quite a noise, and you cannot not hear it. You hear it everywhere in the college. And in fact, a lot of the other colleges, you could hear it in a lot of the other colleges too. And that's how everyone knew that it was time to get back in your college, because it was curfew time. And so it rings 101 times because when Christchurch was founded, there was scholarships for 100 students. And then a few years ago, they added one more. And so it told for every student, basically. Now there's more than 101 students, but they just kept the tradition. And it doesn't ring at 9 p.m. like most of the other Oxford bells ring. It rings at 9:05 because that was the official time in Oxford if you were going by the local time zone before the time zones in Britain were unified into one time zone. So Oxford was 5 minutes behind London. So to keep time, it would go off at 9:05 promptly. And I've been here a couple times when it's gone off, and it goes on for about 5 minutes. I even recorded it on video, and it sounds beautiful. I love the sound of old bells. Yeah. So overall, I've greatly enjoyed the course. I haven't really even talked much about the content of my course. I'll probably save that for another podcast because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Nelson. And I also want to sort of organize my own thoughts and figure out, what I want to say. But overall, I've learned, before I came, I kind of wondered, well, what more can I learn about Nelson when I've been reading about him for 20 years? I've watched countless documentaries. I've read books. Like, what more could I learn? And the answer is quite a bit. It really is quite something to get everything taught to you by a genuine Oxford tutor who knows this subject way more deeply than I ever could know it. And I've learned quite a few new things that have been very fascinating. And so I'd say overall I've gotten my money's worth. That sounds crass, though. I don't really like I don't like how that sounds, but this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to come live in an Oxford college, and I wanted to come have intellectual stimulation for a week and see some heritage and meet some new people and basically have a college experience. And I can say 100% that I've had it. It's been great. It was a great way to sort of reintroduce myself to travel in England after a long absence. And I definitely want to do something like this again. I don't think I'll be able to do it next year, but in a few years, I'd definitely love to come do some more of the courses. I know there's a course about stately homes that I really want to do. There's the one about Turner they do every year. There's one about Churchill they do every year. There's just a lot of variety. And I mean, if it's an opportunity to learn more about the things you love the most, take it. If we learned anything during the pandemic, it's you only have one life to live, and you should take the opportunity to learn the things or do the things when you can. Otherwise, you don't know when you'll be able to do it. So I think that about covers everything. Like I said, I'll put some links in the show notes to to everything I've talked about. And then stay tuned in a week or two when I talk about Nelson in general, and probably do another podcast too about the final days of my trip and how that went. So that's it for me from Oxford.